Hello everyone, this is Grand Chief Rose here. So I keep being asked this question internationally here. They ask, what is it like for Indigenous people in Canada? Um, well, this is our country and it was stolen from us by the British. Yeah, they either tricked the land out from underneath us or they took it by force. It was one of the two. The British were very bad at what they did. But let's put it in perspective here. Uh, you know how in history, supposedly the Holocaust and all those concentration camps that was done by Nazi Germany was supposedly the worst thing that has ever happened in history? Well, who do you think they learned that from? They came to Canada and learned, the Nazi Germany came to Canada and learned how to do that because reserves were concentration camps prior to 1960. And most people don't even know that history. We still are very limited. People still have the same mindset. So for people to understand why a lot of people don't want to leave the reserve, it's because it's all they've ever known. They go here and there, and unfortunately the British have kind of hit in with the rest of the country or nationalities and sit there and hide, and then they teach for Indigenous people in the schools it was the white man. No, it wasn't the white man, it was the British. Scottish and Irish came over as slaves. I've seen pictures of Irish people in crates. They would put 4 to 8 people in these plastic crates or wooden crates there that where they would, let's just put it this way, it would have been a real shit show if you weren't on the top. Because they would stack them up, and these people would come out and they were skinny. There would be probably dead people. Oh, man. Then the Germans, the Russians, and the Ukrainians were tricked into coming over, and a lot of other European nations, saying that, oh, this is wide open land, it's free, come stake a claim. Well, when people got here, like, what the fuck, right? There's obviously people here. And so it took them over a decade to finally get it back, and so it stopped a lot more settlers from coming here that were being tricked by the British regime. Canada is one of the few countries that didn't get our freedom back. Yeah, we supposedly have independence, but it's still under the British thumb. Where is our Indigenous Parliament? Where is our First Nations? Where is all that stuff? We have a few people that supposedly represent us, but in the wrong bloody party. I don't see any First Nations that I know of in the Conservative or in any other party, just in Liberals. And the Liberals weren't the ones who gave us our freedom, it was the Conservatives. 1960 is when the Bill of Rights was put through, allowing for First Nations for the first time to leave our concentration camps and leave the reserves. So this may seem a bit extreme to some people, but know your history because we're still being suppressed. I always get a kick out of it when people, like when the Black Lives Matter came up and said, oh, poor us, poor us. Fuck you. The damn, when the Africans came up here from the South, they were set free. They were given housing, all that stuff. And they were actually, had jobs, the whole 9 yards, they were able to integrate. First Nations weren't allowed to do that. The real Black Lives Matter should be Indigenous Lives Matter up here in Canada. We were treated worse than the Africans down south. The only thing was we weren't kept as slaves, but, I mean, it probably would have been a better upgrade for some. There was a lot of women that on the reserve had to put out to the RCMP, to a lot of other government officials, just so that way they could feed their family. Could you imagine that? Having to, being a woman and having to have sex with an RCMP officer or a lot of the other government officials just so that way you could feed your children. Then they take them, put them in these residential schools. Then they put Then the 60 scoops where they went on a lot of reserves, stole the children, adopted them off, and lied to the Canadian population saying, oh, well, these people are not this or that, right? Well, that's all a lie, right? Then there was the child welfare scam. And this is why we're leading up to Canund Nation here. The child welfare scam, and I say a scam because they gave an extra $100,000 friggin' dollars per child that is Indigenous or First Nations, Métis, you get the idea. So a woman who had 12 kids, easy target. Not only did they get the regular, but then they get $1.2 million on top to steal this person's children. So you don't see whether the Canadian government meant good or not by it. Most of the child protective services are privately owned corporations, and now in Manitoba is wildly out of control. 1 in 38 kids only need to be in care there. They have kids out of hotels and motels, supervising themselves. Like, where do we stand up and say, we need to stand up for our children, right? We're sitting here having, I see my people stand up and say, let's go fight against the pipeline. Let's go fight for this land. Let's do that. Land is great, but if you don't have your children, right? And this leads up to the fact that there's over 2 million First Nations, Métis, Mix, everything like that across Canada that don't know where to have home. I know where my heritage goes, but to have that, to go back to that reserve mentality James Smith Reserve, there's a lot of good people there, but there's also a lot of families that just sit there and fight all the time. It's not our home. This is why Canund Nation exists, for those millions of people across Canada. And we are also accepting people that are just Indigenous altogether. Thanks to the Bill C-15 Indigenous Act, it allows us to redefine our membership. And I got a kick out of when I had that argument with the leader of the Indigenous Saskatchewan. And he was trying to tell us that we had no right to call our people citizens. While every other nation has citizens, why should we be discriminated against any different? I tell you one thing, if you're watching this, buddy, if you don't sit there and work with us before, we're coming with lawyers. I love Tony Merchant, great guy. Go in there and want compensation for you to, discrimination. The guy has not read the Indigenous Act. Who puts the guy in charge? And it's a 3-page deal. It's Bill C-15 Indigenous Act. This gives Indigenous people across Canada a lot more rights and freedoms. And a personal note to Justin Trudeau, the Indian Act is very racist. Very fucking racist. If you want to see us progress as a country, get all the Grand Chiefs to rip that up. And the ceremony. That will be making real change. Instead of sitting there saying, oh, the poor Africans that are here in Canada. Give me a fucking break. They got treated like gold. We got a raw stick. Come on. You had the German Nazis that came and learned from the Canadian government how to create concentration camps. They're called reserves, people. So we need to step up and start making change as Indigenous Canadians. That includes Native-born, First Nation, Métis, Inuit, and any other ones that I've missed. Come join Canund Nation, be part of the change, and let's make some real difference. May God be with you, may the Creator be with you guys. Thank you for listening, and please share the heck out of this.